Welcome to another edition of Focus on Lakeville. I'm Jeff Leaders. The Lakeville Area Historical Society works to preserve the history of Lakeville. This also includes the rural area just outside of the city limits. Just south of town in Eureka Township, near the intersection of Dodd Boulevard and 235th Street, is the location of what used to be one of the first prominent farms in the area. So in today's History Moment, we take a look back at the Scofield Farm.
My great-grandfather was Silas Curtis Scofield, and he came here in 1854. He was born in New York State in 1815, I believe. He had a friend named Captain Dodd who built Dodd Road, and Captain Dodd urged him to come here because there was wonderful land and trees and water. And he told my great-grandfather when he got to St. Paul to walk southwest, and that's what he did. I don't know how he came to St. Paul. I assume by rail and boat from New York. He came alone. He left his first wife and 3 sons in New York, and he came and he found what he wanted, open land, trees and water. And he built a house of some kind. And then he sent for his wife and sons, and they came. And in 1864, he built the house that is there now. My great-grandfather had been a carpenter and had been many different things. One family history said that at one time he drove a stagecoach in Mexico. He was a postmaster, but he was gone a lot. I suppose that's when he was driving a stagecoach, so my great-grandmother was actually the acting postmaster. And in between the dining room and the kitchen in the house is a small opening in the wall with a door on it, and that's where she handed out the mail to people that came into the kitchen. 1865 is when my grandfather, who was Jesse Scofield, was born in 1865 in that house. It was a 11 or 12 room house. Eventually, at first it wasn't that big, but then in later years they added a second story over the dining room, and that became 2 bedrooms on the second floor, and that made it into, I think, an 11 room house. But it was a nice house, beautiful hardwood floors. They were hunters. They hunted a lot, and they had numerous rifles. Some of the farm work they did, they raised purebred cattle, and they had horses before they had a tractor. But they probably had one of the first tractors in the community. And they had a large steam engine. They also had kind of I suppose you'd call it a portable steam engine that my grandfather hooked up to everything possible, even to the washing machine, so they had an automatic washing machine. Not really automatic, but it ran by engine, not by turning a handle like most people would have to do in those days. I remember going to the Scofields as a child. During the summer I would go out there for a week or sometimes longer. We would help at this time with preparing the meals, and I can't believe the amount of food that we helped prepare and set tables. Of course, that, I could set a table. I couldn't prepare any of the food, but the thrashers would come, and there'd be 15 or 18 men, and they had a table that would seat that many. The table had 12 leaves, and they stretched it out in the dining room diagonal across the dining room. my great-grandfather had given the land for the school. It was known as the Scofield School. They had the school picnic, and they would have other picnics and just kind of community celebrations there, because it was a large place. The lawn was nice, and it was, you know, just kind of a well-known place, and everybody came. And my grandfather was a very social person. He loved having company.
The Scofield family lived in the farmhouse until the early 80s, when Ted Scofield passed away, and the land and the buildings were auctioned off soon after. Although the farm is not in operation today, it still lives on in the memories of those that knew of the Scofield Farm.